So despite having Christian Eriksen, who's really cemented his name on the team sheet in that deep lying playmaker spot alongside Casemiro since the start of the season, I think everyone, including Erik ten Hag and Manchester United as a whole, are in the agreement that they do need to be looking for a long-term successor and even really an upgrade on Eriksen in that role. But before I go any further, let me tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Maincard.io, which is essentially a fantasy management game for a number of different sports, also allowing you to earn extra income in the form of money or NFT cards when you predict the correct results of fights or matches. With Maincard.io, the founders wanted to create a platform that would educate Gen Z not just on crypto fantasy management, but also how NFTs and the blockchain actually work. And this is why, rather than just simply losing their money, a user will go through an education process. And in order to make a bet on football, esports, UFC, or any other sport they have on the platform, a user simply buys an NFT, and if the prediction turns out to be right, the user will be rewarded with main coins earnings. And you can also play against other players to potentially win their main cards, and winning streaks will be rewarded not just with more income but also with upgrades as well. Maincard.io also allows you to trade your cards on the open market, and if you can become one of the top 3 fantasy managers of the week, then you can earn cash prizes or rare NFTs. So if you're someone who rates their sporting knowledge, then Maincard.io is definitely for you. And they are trying to educate people not just on crypto fantasy management or NFTs, but also on the blockchain as well. So if this sounds like something you'd be into, I'll leave it linked in the description below and in the comments section as well. Frankie de Jong was a name over the summer who was most heavily linked with Manchester United, and it did seem for a while that Ten Hag had his eyes set solely on de Jong. However, since Enzo Fernandez has really come to the fore for Benfica, whilst also impressing for Argentina at the World Cup, his name has really been pushed up the list alongside de Jong now as United's primary target in that central midfield position. Now, in order to decide whether Enzo Fernandez would be a good signing for Manchester United, we first need to identify and analyse what type of central midfielder he actually is and whether this is what Ten Hag's United need. If I had to describe Enzo Fernandez, I'd describe him as a complete central midfielder, having a ranging skill set that allows him to perform many different roles in that central midfield area. For Argentina at the World Cup, when he came into the side, he's come in as a single pivot, playing as the deepest midfielder in a midfield 3, usually having 2 players like Rodrigo de Paul and Alexis McAllister sitting ahead of him. Now, Argentina have used a number of different systems, so it's really hard to nail down the exact role that Fernandez will play for Argentina in the long term, but an interesting tactical adaptation we've seen involving Enzo Fernandez in this Argentina side is using him as what Scaloni coins a false centre-back. And we did see this against Croatia, with Paredes dropping to become the single pivot, leaving Otamendi and Romero behind him, and Enzo Fernandez dropping into what you would refer to as a left-sided centre-back position almost, creating a temporary back 3 for Argentina in possession. And this will definitely be of interest to Ten Hag, who we have seen use a back 3 at multiple times in possession. Usually it's a 3-2-4-1 kind of shape, with one of the fullbacks sitting deeper alongside the centre-backs. However, Enzo Fernandez playing alongside Casemiro in Manchester United's midfield would enable Ten Hag to use him in one of these positions and potentially push on the 2 fullbacks, either having Dalot invert into a advanced narrower position and Luke Shaw maybe doing the same on the left side, or holding his width a lot more, allowing the player on the left flank to then move inside into the half space. So having a player like Enzo Fernandez, who has already played in this type of system, will definitely be of benefit to Ten Hag and offer some versatility in possession. For Benfica, we see Enzo Fernandez play more of a traditional central midfield role, playing as a deeper line playmaker, alongside Florentino Luis in Roger Smith's 4-2-3-1 shape. Florentino Luis alongside him is definitely more of the ball-winning sitting central midfielder, giving Enzo some freedom to push further forward and break into the final third when the opportunity is there. But first and foremost, for Roger Smith's side, Fernandez is his main ball progressor, and he does so either with his ability to drive past players in the centre of the pitch, or more likely for his progressive passing. And when we statistically analyse Fernandez in just a minute, you'll see how good he is at doing this. But when we describe the type of player that Enzo Fernandez actually is, you can see why he's been so vital for not just Benfica, but also the Argentine national side. As I said before, he reminds me of someone like Arturo Vidal. Arturo Vidal in his Juventus days was a player who could do everything in and out of possession. Without the ball, Vidal was definitely a water carrier in that Juventus midfield, providing the strength, physicality and defensive ability around Pirlo to allow him to play that regista role. And Vidal and Marquisio alongside Pirlo were crucial to getting the best out of Pirlo in Conte's 5-3-2 system. Enzo Fernandez, like Arturo Vidal, has that South American tenacity that we also see from Lisandro Martinez Martinez. He's a stocky central midfielder that can put in tackles, he reads the game very well and moves out to make interceptions and close down players, which is really key to a pressing system. Having players who are decisive out of possession, which Enzo Fernandez definitely is, allowing them to move out quickly to close down the opposition, and those few seconds can really be the difference between winning the ball back high up the pitch and releasing your attackers on the counter, and just being too slow to stop the opposition player turning and playing the ball forward, progressing the opposition's attack and getting into your half. But Enzo Fernandez is also a fantastic technical defender as well. He's an exceptional sliding tackler which enables him to run alongside the player with the ball and break up the attack before it even gets to the back line. From a defensive point of view, Enzo Fernandez would definitely be a massive upgrade on Christian Eriksen, and we can definitely see this when looking at the defensive side of his FBref report. So in just over 1,600 minutes over the last 365 days in Liga NOS and in the Champions League for Benfica, Enzo Fernandez ranks between the mid-60s and the mid-70th percentiles for his tackles won in the defensive third, the middle third, and in the attacking third as well, showing that he's a central midfielder that can perform his defensive tasks in all areas of the pitch, whether this be in a high press or making a last-ditch tackle in his own half to break up a counter-attack. He does only rank in the 46th percentile for his interception, so that is definitely a part of his game that he can work on, although he is only 21 years of age, so you would definitely expect his mental attributes like his reading of the game to drastically improve as he enters his mid-20s. He is also currently making a lot of errors in that central midfield position, so that is definitely something he needs to clean up, but as with his reading of the game, that will come as he develops. Although he is ranking in the high 80th percentiles to the mid 90th percentiles for his dribblers contested metric as well as his dribblers tackled metric, and he also sits around the high 70th percentiles for his percentage of dribblers tackled, showing us that his statistical profile suggests that he should be that central midfielder given the license to push out and be aggressive, almost like a pit bull, joining the press high up the pitch and being a lot more suitable for this role than Christian Eriksen, whilst Casemiro can be the more experienced central midfielder, sitting behind the play and using his reading of the game to put himself in positions in behind Enzo Fernandez in case the opposition managed to break through the press. But it's in possession where Enzo Fernandez really stands out from every other central midfielder in world football at the moment. If you look at the passing section of Enzo Fernandez's FBref report, it's absolutely insane. He ranks in the low to high 90th percentiles for pretty much every passing metric, ranking in the high 90s for pretty much all of his passing metrics, from his long, short and medium passes, his passes attempted, passes completed, and his pass completion rate as well. And this is an aspect of Enzo Fernandez's game that impresses me so much. He's not just a player with a long pass on him who can receive the ball and switch play, which he can do excellently and with an exceptional accuracy rate, but he can also play those incisive, shorter passes into players between the lines, moving the ball from in front of the opposition's midfield line to in behind them, and it's these type of passes that are most valuable. He ranks in the 99th percentile, which is the top 1% of all central midfielders in Europe's top 8 leagues when it comes to his progressive passes in general and his passes into the final third, whilst also ranking in the 96th percentile for his passes into the penalty area and also for key passes, whilst ranking in the 98th percentile for his expected assists and the 96th percentile for his XG assisted as well, showing that Enzo Fernandez isn't just a great ball progressor in the middle part of the pitch, moving the ball into the final third, but also in the final third he provides the creativity that most central midfielders just don't. He'll be able to provide the creative output in the final third that we see from Christian Eriksen, whilst being a better ball progressor in the middle third in my opinion, and accompany alongside him having much better defensive ability, much better energy, whilst also having much greater versatility in terms of the role he can play in central midfield compared to Eriksen, and also taking into account his age and potential, it seems like a no-brainer that Enzo Fernandez would be an upgrade on Christian Eriksen in Manchester United's midfield alongside Casemiro. In the middle third, when United are looking to break down a deep defensive block, Enzo could be used as this kind of false centre-back as he has been used by Scaloni in the Argentine side. Casemiro would hold that central deep position and Enzo Fernandez would pull out to the left side. As against a 4-4-2 and a 4-5-1, which is what most sides use out of possession in the Premier League, this is the area of the field where you are going to get most space. So if Enzo can drop into this kind of quarterback position, this is where he can get his head up and look for those long passes to switch play, or those incisive passes into players between the lines, such as Rashford, such as Bruno Fernandes. In the final third as well, Enzo Fernandez can be given the freedom to push further forward down that left side, looking to link with the likes of Rashford and Shaw and Fernandez in that left-sided channel, whilst also looking to use his energy and burst of acceleration to make runs ahead of the forward line, getting into goal scoring and goal creating positions inside of the box. And this would be very reminiscent of how Arturo Vidal played, being much more of a box-to-box midfielder than say Christian Eriksen, who's much more of a playmaker, a deeper line playmaker, who whilst will provide creativity in the final third, you rarely see him being the player to make those bursts to get into goal scoring positions, as you would with someone like Arturo Vidal in that Juventus side, or how Enzo Fernandez could potentially be deployed for Ten Hag. And in order to get the best out of Enzo Fernandez, I think Ten Hag does have to work out a way to unlock his ability in the final third, because from his FB Ref report you can see what a talent he can be. He ranks in the 97th percentile for his non-penalty XG, and whilst he does rank in the 76th percentile for his non-penalty goals, underperforming his non-penalty XG, the fact that he is getting into those goal scoring positions is a good sign, as he already has the ability to find chances for himself inside of the box with his movement and his runs ahead of play, and if he can improve his finishing ability inside and around the box, he's going to start to add a lot more goals to his game, which is what Arturo Vidal did for Juventus around 2014-2015. Enzo is already a fantastic chance creator, sitting in the 96th percentile for his XG assisted, as I've already said, and he's also got fantastic long-range shooting ability, which he showed at the World Cup for Argentina with his curling finish into the far corner against Mexico. And so alongside Bruno Fernandes, Ten Hag's going to have two players in that central midfield position who can score from long range and are fantastic creators around the box. And with Casemiro being that ball winner, the player to sit behind the attack and wait for the opposition to counter before then breaking it up, Ten Hag in my opinion would have a perfectly balanced central midfield three, with Casemiro being the ball winner, Bruno Fernandes being the creator, and Enzo Fernandez essentially being a ball winner out of possession whilst being a ball progressor and also a chance creator whilst in possession. And this is why it's so hard to pin down Enzo Fernandez's best role in the centre of midfield, as he really is a complete central midfielder, really akin to someone like Luka Modric or Steven Gerrard, and I do believe that he can reach this level as he enters his mid to late 20s as well. And with this vast range of a skill set, Enzo Fernandez can also provide cover for Casemiro if he's out of the side, and could even be given a more advanced attacking midfield position if needed as well. Now it is fair to say that Enzo Fernandez isn't going to come cheap, particularly after the World Cup that he's had. I reckon he's going to cost between 50 as much as £60 million, but I think he's such a unique midfielder, someone that doesn't come around too often on the market, to make him worth that sort of fee. Some other cheaper alternatives would be Ibrahim Sangare and Maxence Caqueret from Lyon, who are two very good ball winners who are also very press resistant in their own half, as well as being very astute at progressing the ball from the middle to the final third. However, they are slightly more defensive minded than Enzo Fernandez, and so they don't produce the same sort of output in the final third, not playing as many passes into the penalty area or creating anywhere near as many chances or getting into the goal scoring positions that Enzo Fernandez does. Another more offensive alternative could be Caqueret's Lyon teammate Houssam Aouar, who is entering the last 6 months of his contract at Lyon, so he could definitely be available for a bargain price. Aouar is just as good, if not better than Enzo Fernandez in terms of his ball progression and quick interplay in the centre of the pitch, but doesn't have Fernandez's aggression, tenacity or defensive capabilities without the ball. And so the Lyon man falls into the same sort of category as Frankie de Jong, not being the complete central midfielder like Enzo Fernandez, and definitely being more of a roaming playmaker, as I think de Jong is as well, players who don't quite have that aggression or tenacity and do require playing alongside a more defensive ball winning midfielder, whereas I do think Enzo Fernandez could be partnered alongside Christian Eriksen or Bruno Fernandes in that double pivot and not struggle defensively in the same sort of ways that Aouar and de Jong would. And that is why I do think Enzo Fernandez should be a primary target for Manchester United, if not in January, definitely in the summer, as I do think he can develop into the sort of central midfielder that Luka Modric is and Arturo Vidal was, which is as a complete central midfielder, a player that can perform multiple tasks in the central midfield area, having a ranging skill set. But obviously he's not there yet, he's still developing, which is probably the only reason that Manchester City, Barcelona and Real Madrid aren't yet being linked with him. But I think he would fit Ten Hag's system as well perfectly alongside Casemiro, giving Ten Hag two absolute animals in the centre of the pitch, both being tenacious and both defensively complementing each other as well, with Fernandes being an improvement on Eriksen in those areas as well, whilst also still providing that same sort of attacking output when in the final third. I think he could definitely be the player to come in and replace McTominay and upgrade upon him and Eriksen, giving United a lot more quality and depth. And he provides everything that McTominay provides to your squad to an even higher level, so you can get rid of McTominay probably for as much as 15 to 20 million pounds to another Premier League club, and use that as a part of the 50 to 60 million pounds that you would spend on Enzo Fernandez anyway. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, remember to give it a like, subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when my videos come out. Put your thoughts on João Felix in the comment section below, and check out some of my other videos which will be linked in the description as well.